I'm excited to test this thing out. It's a brand new audio interface from Hercules. It's the Stream 200 XLR. It looks kind of like a BEACN Mix Create or an Elgato Stream Deck Plus, but it's got an XLR input into it. So let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and check this thing out. Hey everybody, it's Chris from Family Geekery. Today we're going to be checking out the Hercules Stream 200 XLR, and this is a brand name that as soon as I saw this logo, I knew I recognized it. They made sound cards and video cards all the way back into the 80s and 90s, and I haven't heard of them since. I guess they got bought out at some point, but this is a brand new product. Just kind of saw it, couldn't find any information out about it, so I had to pick it up and test this thing out for you guys to check out. So this is, like I said, it's the Stream 200 XLR. They've got a 100, which is like this much of it without this stuff, which you can't see yet, but we'll open this thing up in a second. And it doesn't have the XLR. The 100 does not have the XLR. So I wanted to try out the whole big thing. The other one, like I said, it's just the knobs and the audio levels here, and it is quite a bit cheaper. But if I wanted to get just that, I'd probably be looking at the BEACN Mix Create or the Mix Create Pro or whatever it is now. But I wanted a full audio interface. So with these type of things, we've been looking for a replacement for the Go-XLR since they're probably not making those anymore. Everybody's trying to get the next big thing, and I don't know if it's going to be this or not, but I think a lot of that has to do with how they integrate the software to the hardware. So that's definitely something we're going to be checking out in this video. But let's go ahead and take a tour around the box here. I think we've seen everything here up front, so let's check out the back. And that's what it looks like. So it looks a lot like that Stream Deck Plus and that Mix Create by BEACN. But it's got, like I said, an XLR jack in the back there. So we've got full control of audio tracks. Separate the audio mix that you're listening from the headphones and the mix that you're sharing with your viewers. So obviously there's going to be a creator version and the audio version, or a stream mix and a headphone mix as a lot of them call it. Monitor the volume levels of these two mixes simultaneously. Connect your professional XLR microphone into the XLR input with preamp for high fidelity vocal sound. So you can see we've got a screen of some sort. We got a couple knobs, big knob for the headphones. Here's what we got on the back. An XLR input. It looks like a combo jack. We got the 48 volt button there for condenser mics, for phantom power, an optical input, a line out, headphones out, a line in, your USB, and then there is a button for the screen. Now I was kind of curious about that, but from what I understand is if you have kind of an ambiance about your streaming setup and you don't want any extra light coming from here shining onto your face or reflecting off something, then you can just reach back there and turn off the screen by itself and still, use all the knobs and stuff as you need. So that's pretty much it on the box. We got what's inside there, a couple cables and stuff. So let's go ahead and open this thing up. Alright, so here is the actual unit right here, and also in the box there was a USB cable to power it up and to hook it up to your computer, and also a mic preamp. So this is an XLR mic preamp. I had to look up to see what its use was. I was wondering if it was kind of like a cloud lifter or something, and apparently it is. So in the back here you got the XLR jack, and you've got the button for phantom power. If you're using a condenser microphone, then you turn the 48 volts on, of course. But if you're using a dynamic mic and you want a little bit more gain on it, then you can plug this in, plug your dynamic mic into it, turn on the phantom power, and it serves as a little preamp. So that's interesting. So we may have to test that out. I'm not sure if any of my mics are going to need that or not, but we'll test it out anyways. And we can see here we got 4 knobs that they call an 8-channel. They call this an 8-channel device. So there's a page button here that lets you see 4, and then you hit the page button and it shows you different 4 tracks. We got an action button underneath each one, and these buttons do click in, so I'm sure you can assign something to that also. We've got the master volume knob here for the headphones, and what's interesting is this is a about 270 degree turn, so it's actually turning from here to there. So I'm sure that this thing will light up once we plug it in, whereas these things are free spinning, so no start or stop. We got an all mute button up here, and you'll be able to see these better once I got it plugged in. An all mute button, the page button. The link button allows you to link the audio that you're turning up and down, both in the creator and the audience mix, so you can have them either linked or you can unlink them, so you can have a different mix for each the creator and the audience. And then, like I said, in the back here we've got all of our inputs and outputs. It's nice to have an optical output unless in case you're going to hook this up to a console or something. But we do have a line out, and I think the software is going to allow us to either have that line out. We can choose whether we want it to be the audience mix or the headphone mix. We got our phones here. I'm kind of torn. I kind of like to see that on the front sometimes, or even maybe on the side on this. If this is going to be on your desk and you've got a pair of headphones, might as well have them plugged in. Somewhat convenient, not around the back, but that's okay. Got the line in, also USB, and like I said, the screen button back there. So it feels pretty good. It looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and get this thing hooked up, download some software, and start controlling it. Alright, if you've seen any of my other reviews for audio interfaces before, then you know the first thing I like to test out is plugging this thing up to this iPad Pro, which I'm recording with, and seeing if it works. And I'm sad to report that it does not. So it actually powered it up, and it came up on the screen as an audio input option, but no audio is going through it at all. So this thing must need to see the computer software that's running on your computer for it to actually work. So that's kind of a little bit of a letdown, but I know there'd be no way other than if they had created an app for the iPad or iPhone to allow you to control any of this stuff here. But it's still nice just if it works as a generic audio interface. That's always just a bonus, but we'll go ahead and skip that. So the next step is we're going to have to hook this up to a computer, and you can see it's already hooked up now. The microphone that I'm talking through is not what you're hearing. You're hearing just my normal regular microphone hooked up to the iPad, but I do have right over here an XLR microphone that's plugged into here, so that's what you're seeing activity-wise on the screen. So let's go ahead and hook this up to the computer, get the software up on a screen, and let you guys see how to control it. Alright, so we are taking a look at the Hercules stream control software right here, and this is the software that makes everything happen for this Stream 200 XLR audio interface. And what I've also got showing here, obviously I got a camera pointed at it, and apologies, that camera is not right next to me, so that device is not right next to me, so when I go to control it, I will have to wheel my chair over there every now and then to control it, but just bear with me while I do that. But also up here in this window here in the top right, I've got some audio settings from Windows. Now this is what you'd see if you clicked on this button down here, Open Windows Audio Settings. So the software from Hercules gives you that option to just pop that open and make some changes, because we're going to need that when we're setting up the different channels in the mixer. So you can see there's not much going on in here, and I hope they do update this over time and make this better and better. But we'll take a look at what we've got right now. So if we go from this is the home screen to the mixer, you can see here's all of our different options that we can put into the 8 tracks here. Now remember, there's 4 showing, and when we hit this page button, there'll be a different 4 showing. So this is page 1, and then that's page 2 if you hit the page button. So these are the different things. Now ironically, there's 8 of them in total, so we can add all 8 of these on here in whichever order that we want. And once you drag one over, it asks you to change the name here, the color, the icon, and the color of the 2 different bars. So all of that is customizable for each of these channels, and you can just drag them however you want. When you drag one on top of another one, it says, hey, are you sure you want to overwrite this? And then you just click yes, and it overwrites it, and then it gives you a dialog box over on the right hand side of the software to fill out all this information as far as what the name, the icon, the colors, all that good stuff is. So once you do that, you get all those set up. You can see we've got our actual hardware inputs here. So the XLR microphone plugged right into the back, and I'm actually talking through that right now. I think you can see on the screen there, that first channel in the camera, you can see that's tracking my audio. And then you've got the line in, so that's a physical jack in the back, and then the optical is separate from that. Now all the rest of these here these, what they call playbacks, those are all virtual channels, and they show up in your windows as virtual channels. And it's nice that we get a bunch of them. So we get game, chat, music, and aux. That's just a kind of like a free-for-all. And then system is going to be something that we can assign for the system audio coming from the computer that's not assigned to one of these other virtual channels. So once you set all those up, then you're done with the mixer part. And what I've got done here is, you can see I've got some other audio showing up on these two channels here. Not obviously not in the software, but on the actual device itself. So let's go play with those, and I'll show you what those are. So you can see right here I've got the microphone set up in that first channel there, and I can adjust the volume up and down. Now in the settings of the software, there is a gain control for the microphone itself, and I'm doing this first without this extra preamp plugged in. So I've got that gain jacked up about 22 dB, and that's almost the top of the gain setting for this particular device. Now I'm talking through a Rode Pod mic, and it is a dynamic microphone, so it does require a little bit of gain. So that's what you're hearing right now. Next to that, we've got system, and system is going to be anything, like I said, that's not assigned to a channel. So if I just click on, let me go back over to my computer. If I just click on the, the little speaker down at the bottom to check my volume, you should be able to hear that coming through. Now what I've got coming into your audio, what I'm recording is actually the creator mix. So you're hearing everything that I'm hearing right in my headphones. Remember, we've got a creator mix and we get the audience mix, but I wanted to be able to hear what I'm recording, so that's why I selected that one. So that's going right into OBS, a mixture of everything that's going on here. So what I got next in the game and the music channels, I've got basically two different browsers. I've got Chrome and Edge set up with YouTube playing some stream beats by Harris Heller. Thank you to Harris Heller for putting out some awesome stuff that we can put into our streams or our YouTube videos without having any kind of copyright strike. So I've got both of these muted out right now. So let's go ahead and take this game channel and unmute it. I'm just going to tap on this button here, and now you should hear it coming in, and we can adjust that volume. This is about 10% right there, and if you look, the name game changes to the setting, and then we can see exactly where we're at. Now what I'm adjusting right now is the creator mix. So you can see this is lit up here as the creator mix, and that's because I want to know what I'm hearing, because that's what's going to the recording. So we could come over to the audience mix here, and we can turn that all the way down. And what's actually happened to me right now is I'm hearing all that. So I'm hearing really loud music. Hopefully you're not. So when you come back down to here, now I'm hearing what you're hearing. Hopefully that didn't change. If it didn't, then it means that it works. What's going to OBS works, because this should only affect what I'm hearing. And that's nice that I can actually hear right away. As soon as I click this, I hear exactly what the audience mix is. So if this was a real true streaming setup and I had different volume levels set for different channels, then I'd be able to hear it right away just by toggling back and forth, make my adjustments, and then go back to the one I want to stick with. So let's go ahead and mute this and unmute the music. And you can see as I'm muting and unmuting, the color is changing from gray to whatever color I've selected. Now these other two right-hand side ones here that are staying blue, that's the audience mix, because those aren't muted out. I'm only muting the channel and the mix that I'm currently selected. Now remember, we can always hit this link button here, and it's going to link both of them together. That way it's going to mute and unmute both. It's going to set the volume level of both. Let's go ahead and do that back on this one here. So right now, I'm just affecting the creator mix. And if I hit the link button, now you can see both bars are going up, both bars are going down, and now both bars are muting. So if we want to undo that, we just hit that link button again, and now I'm affecting just the left side again, just the creator mix. So this is pretty powerful, and it's pretty simple at the same time. Very few buttons to have to hit to do all this, and it's pretty efficient. So this is just the 4 channels here. You know, we can go over to this side here and see 4 more channels, but I don't have anything going into those right now. So let's go pop back over to here. And the next thing I'm going to show you, let's go back over to the computer, is going to be the actions. So we looked at everything in the mixer. You drag these over, assign your different channels on the different pages. Now in actions, this is where this thing can become a little bit more powerful, I think, in my mind. If they can add a lot more to this, then this thing is going to be even that much better. Right now it's got the essentials, so let's see what we can do. We can mute source, push to mute, keyboard shortcut, ULR launcher, solo isolate, set level, play pause, next, and previous. So let me give you some examples of how I've got this set up here. So I've got it set up for solo isolate source on this first channel here, and that's my microphone. So if I had other things going, let me go ahead and turn some other things on. Maybe I've got the music going, and I want to quickly just, maybe I got the music and the game going, and I want to quickly just do my mic only. Now I can reach over there and turn those 2 knobs down, or I can just simply hit this solo button down here, and that should allow you to hear just me and not the music in the game. And then as soon as I hit that solo button again, both those audio sources are going to come back in there. So that's a pretty standard button to have on a mixer, but it's pretty nice to have to be able to assign this to whatever you want. Now once you assign that, if I look in here, it's got a little bit more control than you would think it would need. You can change the name, you can change the icon, that's all cool. But down here you can actually change the audio source. So I was just assuming that it would just solo whatever is on here, but I can have it set up to solo whichever item I wanted. So this button doesn't even need to be on this track. I could have this button all the way over here and tell it to solo my mic, and that's exactly what it would do. So if you did that, obviously you'd want to maybe relabel that as solo mic and then save it, but that's pretty cool. Another one that I've set up here is this set 10%, and this is just the set level. So you give it a name, and I just named it set 10%. You give it an icon, you give it a level, and then you pick which audio source you want. So I selected the game, and if I do that, let's go ahead and head back over there. Now let's go ahead and unmute the game. Let's go ahead and turn that bad boy up. So we're up at about 30% right now. And maybe I want to quickly be able to bring that down. So I just hit set 10% and it's down there. So I could certainly just come over here and grab it, but if I knew that there's a certain level that I wanted every time, then that's just a little bit more efficient way of doing it. That way you're not kind of dragging it down and saying, well, 8's not enough and 15 is too much. I just hit this button and it's 10% every time. So that's pretty good little thing. And again, the same thing that you do on the mute button or the solo button, you do assign an actual source to that. So it doesn't have to track the same thing here. Now I could use more than those that I wanted. I could set all of these, maybe all 3 of these here to a set 10%. And quickly be able to adjust all of them, or you can just do one that you're going to use a lot. Now let's look over on page 2. This one right here is a mute. I have it labeled mute Chrome, and I didn't misspell that. It is actually, that's all the letters you can get on it. And on this one, this is a push to mute or mute source. This is a mute source that I set up on this one, and this is a little bit different than muting the in this case Chrome is, I think, my music channel. This is actually saying what do you want to mute, and you can go through all of your audio sources, including individual apps. So you can see I've got the app Chrome set up here instead of muting out my music channel. So let me show you the difference between those two. Alright, so let's go back to page 1. I'm going to mute the game. I'm going to unmute the music. So this should be what's coming through my Chrome tab. And I can either come up here and just hit that and just mute that out. But if I had 2 or 3 different programs running to the virtual channel called music, and I just want to mute out that one program Chrome, and let the other two keep on going into that channel, then I can come over here and hit this mute Chrome key, and it takes it right out. So if we go back and look over here, that music is muted out because that's the only thing going to it. But if we reassigned, let's say, and this would be a good time to show you what's going on with the app window up here, this volume window. This is in Windows, and this is where you assign each of your individual open programs, which in my case is just Chrome and Edge, to the different virtual channels. So you can see Chrome was set to music, Edge was set to game, and I had those two separated. But maybe I have a couple different things coming to the music channel. So maybe I have Spotify and Chrome. Let's go ahead and just say that I've got both Edge and Chrome set up into this music channel for whatever reason. So let's come back over here. And first I'll mute that for a second. And I'm going to go back to page 2 and unmute Chrome here. And let's go back to page 1. So everything now is coming over on the music channel here. And I've got two different things going there now. I've got Edge and Chrome. So let's go ahead and unmute this. You can hear I've got the game and the music going in there. So both Edge and Chrome are going in there. So if I come over here and mute Chrome, that's just allowing Edge to continue to come through on the same channel, and I can still adjust the volume and everything. But I muted one of the sources that's coming to that virtual source. So that's really neat. So let's go ahead and normal that up. And turn this back down, mute it back out. And I'll come back over to Windows and I'll fix this again to where I had Edge going to the game output and Chrome going to music by itself. So I was able to control a whole bunch of stuff just for these two little tabs here, mixer and actions. And like I said, I hope to see a bunch more of these set up, almost like a Stream Deck type, library of things. And it doesn't have to be a whole lot. The keyboard shortcut certainly helps a lot because you can set up keyboard shortcuts in OBS and have this control your stream. You can start and stop recording on one of these buttons. So you always have the mute buttons here where you can mute out that channel, but you also have an action button underneath it. And it is a little bit confusing at first view to see that all of these buttons here are just right underneath these channels. They don't need to be, because these buttons are all just independent of the channels they're on. These are just 4 little placeholders for these 4 actions. And besides that, we've got settings in here that we can go through and we can change some of the things. This did have a software and firmware update as soon as I launched it. So that tells me that they're actually changing things. I think one of the things that I read, and I didn't find very much about it, but I read that the buttons initially weren't set to mute. So I'm glad that they did change that so that the actual push buttons on the knobs are set to mute now. But we've got the general things. We've got some graphics changes. You can change how the VU meters look. You can import in some new icons. You can change the background of the device itself. I think this was the default one. So if you look on the device now, it's got kind of that rainbow look to it. But you can change through a couple of those, import some new icons, change the action zone style, which doesn't have very much change, but you can see that I put a grid there instead of just minimal. And then the server access I haven't played with yet, but it looks like this is where perhaps we can actually make some changes to OBS. I'm going to have to take a look at that. And then the XLR microphone input, this is where you're going to set some different presets, dynamic versus condenser. Right now I'm talking in dynamic without the preamp, so I'm going to test that next by plugging in the preamp and seeing if it sounds any different. You have some noise gate settings, some compressor settings, and some EQ settings all built in here. And you can save this as a profile. So if you had different microphones or different sounds that you wanted, then you could save those as different profiles and then save all your settings up here. But if you could go back here to the home screen, you can see OBS and Streamlabs are grayed out. So I'm guessing if we go into those settings and we give it a port number, we can actually have this thing control some stuff, and maybe some of the actions from OBS will show right up in here that we can assign to these different action buttons. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to unplug my mic, plug that amplifier in, and I'll be right back and see what the change is to the gain levels that we need to set to get this microphone sounding right. Alright, so I've gone ahead and plugged that in, and from my headphones I can notice a big difference, and I brought this gain all the way down from 22 dB down to 9. So it is, it does give it a lot of headroom for this microphone. So that's nice that they include that for you, and you don't need to use a cloud lifter or buy a cloud lifter, because those things can be about $100. I don't know if this is as good as that, if there's a quality difference between the two, if there's a gain difference between the two. But this thing definitely did make this thing sound a little bit more like, it sounds a little bit more like a condenser microphone, but it's not as amplifying as far as like the background noises and stuff. I'm still sitting right up on top of this microphone like you would a dynamic. Alright, so I took about 4 seconds to read up on this OBS setting here, and when we go back into the settings here and go to the server access, I just read this little question mark button here, and it told me exactly where to go into OBS and find this information. The 4455 was the default port, but I did have a password set up on OBS, and as soon as I hit this, typed in the password, and hit save, then this thing unlit here, and OBS said it did have a remote connection to it. So now if we look at this, we have a couple more action buttons that we have. So play audio file, scene switch, and that's going to be pretty powerful. I'm actually going to take a look at that real quick. So let's go and throw this on here, reassign it, and you can see, yes, it does have a list of all my different scenes, so it knows automatically which scene. So I can go ahead and give it a name like full screen, give it an icon, and it's got a bunch to choose from. Remember, you can always import some more also, and then pick one of my scenes here. And now when I hit that button, it's going to change the scene of OBS, which I'm not going to do because I'm recording to it right now. But that's pretty neat that I could set that up pretty quick, and it had those same settings for Streamlabs as well. So a small list of things to choose from, but the scene selection, that's probably the most powerful if you're going to be using OBS. Just have a quick hotkey to change scenes back and forth and make this truly into a audio interface that has a tiny bit of Stream Deck functionality built in. So this thing is truly, once you set it up that way, a pretty decent competitor to the Stream Deck Plus, except it's got a XLR input in it also, and audio sources, hardware audio sources like the aux in and the optical in. So you're getting two pretty major functions built into this one little box. And it's nice that it sets right next to your Stream Deck pretty nicely if you're still going to use both of them. It takes up a lot less room on your desk than a Go-XLR or a lot of the other big mixers. And for the amount of size that it takes up, it has a lot of power to it. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this one. Go ahead and check this thing out. I'll leave a link down below on where you can find this thing. Remember, there is a 4-channel version that doesn't have the buttons and knobs on the right-hand side of it, and no XLR input. That one's about $150 by itself. This one was around $279 to add in that XLR input and to give some more buttons on the side there to control your stream. But go ahead and check that out if you're in the market for something like this. Then so far in my short little test, I think it's pretty cool. Let me know if you have any questions. You can leave those down in the comments below, and I'll be happy to answer anything that I can. Like I said, there's not a lot of information at the time of recording on this out there, So that's why I was very eager to go ahead and grab one of these and test it out. And I gotta say, it's got all the features that I was looking for, and it's got a couple extra that I wasn't even thinking about. So hopefully this review was helpful to you. If it was, go ahead and smash that like button. I appreciate that. If you want to check out more audio interfaces, I've got some on this channel, along with a bunch of other cool, neat, geeky stuff. So go ahead and check that out too. But that's going to do it for this one. Thank you as always for watching, and until next time, peace out and geek out.